Welcome back to Open Window Politics. We're going to be going through the 2026 House election prediction. So as you can see here, it starts off with 207 seats for the Democrats to 209 for the Republicans. There have been a couple changes here. As you can see, this is with the updated Texas and California maps that have kind of counteracted each other. There have been a couple other states too that have been in the process of redistricting. Some have been better for Democrats, some have been better for Republicans. Looks like here in Missouri, a bit of a gerrymander there, took out a seat for the Democrats. But in general, this has been just kind of the process that's been going on. Both parties are trying to win control of the House, of course, in the next election, which is going to be 2026. So we're going to be going through each of these little districts. Well, maybe not all of them, but we'll start out on the West Coast. So there's a couple districts here in California, as well as one in Washington. There are going to be Democrats would need to win at least 11 of the districts here in the no race called in the toss-up column, which is fairly likely. There is also a possibility the Democrats win some of the lean red seats. There are a few that I think would probably end up in the Democratic Party's column, especially the one here in Iowa. I do think Democrats are largely favored to be the victors in this district here in Iowa, and then the Des Moines district over here that has Des Moines as well as the surrounding area, I think also has a good shot of being in the Democratic Party's column. In 2018, Democrats were also able to win that northeast district there in the corner of Iowa. So at the moment, it's possible. Currently, the environment isn't quite as good as 2018 was for Democrats, so it would be fairly difficult, but I do think winning those two seats is a very plausible option. And then in the district here, there's a few others that Democrats currently hold. So if I remember correctly, they do hold the seat in New Mexico, the southern, that takes, it looks like part of Albuquerque, and then the larger southern section of New Mexico. So that is going to be the Democratic Party's column. And then we also have the district here in Washington State, and that is kind of the Vancouver area, so that is going to be in the Democratic Party's column. There are a few other seats, for example, the district here in Omaha, the congressional district, so that is actually in the lean blue rating. This is currently a Republican seat, Don Bacon, but Democrats are most likely going to flip it. They were even able to win the district on the presidential level in 2024, so it is almost certainly going to flip. It is just in the lean category, so you never know. It could tilt in the red column, but I do think that is fairly likely to end up in the Democratic Party's column. And then we have, it looks like there are two seats here in Arizona. So Arizona, this one is going to be interesting. I do think Democrats probably are more likely to win one of these, probably that district, while Republicans, so if let's say Republicans get one, Democrats get one, so that is going to bring a bit of a closer game. And then we have, here back over in California, we have 3 congressional districts that are in the competitive territory range. There's one here in the outer San Diego area, and then 2 in Northern California up here near San Francisco. So I do think that Democrats were probably going to be fairly well positioned to win those 3. And with those 3, it would be let's see here what that would result in. So for now, that would be 215. So Democrats, if they win the districts here in California, that brings to 215, and then they need 3 more. I do think it is going to be a relatively close House margin. Just by nature of virtually all of, as you can see, there aren't too many competitive districts here left, mostly because states have kind of one party is gerrymandered or gerrymandered in opposition, and has largely resulted in majority of safe and a few likely seats for both parties. So that is going to be a bit of an interesting situation. I do think Democrats are largely favored to win the district here in Wisconsin. That district in Wisconsin, the Democrats had the court election, and we saw Democrats outperform and do quite well, and were able to flip quite a few counties in that congressional district. So I do think that would be in the Democratic Party's column. So with that, Democrats would need 5 more. The district here in Colorado, this one is one of the more competitive ones in the U.S., so I'm going to put it in the tilt blue. This district currently has a Republican representative, but they have also had a Democratic representative before that, so it goes back and forth. Fairly competitive district, but for now, just with the national environment favoring the Democrats, I'm going to put that in the Democratic Party's column. I did not mean to flip this district here. Here we go. I think that one was safe. Anyhow, but that is going to be 214 to 209. There are 2 seats here in Michigan. Let's zoom in on those. So in Michigan, we've got one in kind of the Detroit suburbs here. Well, actually, they're both in the Detroit suburbs kind of area. So Democrats, if they were to win those 2, would be 2 seats away. We got a couple options here for the Democrats in the state of Pennsylvania as well as New Jersey. And then there's one in Virginia. It looks like Democrats did quite well in Virginia in the 2025 election on the gubernatorial stage. So I do think that would probably end up in the Democratic Party's column. We'll characterize it as such. And generally, just is a fairly consistent trend that the party that is not in control of the presidency usually outperforms the party that is in control in the presidency during the midterms. We've seen this in virtually every instance in recent elections. So that is going to be generally a good environment for Democrats. So we have a couple districts here. We have, let's see here, there is one in New York, one in New Jersey, and then it looks like we have 2 in Pennsylvania. So if Democrats are able to, I do think this district here would probably end up in the Republican Party's column. I think that one is going to be close, but for now I'm going to predict it as such. So Democrats would need to win, let's go with the district here in New Jersey, New York, and characterized every other district. There we go. And then that one is going to be in the likely Republican column. So that brings us to 218 to 210. So with that, Democrats have a majority. We have these 2 seats here in the Michigan area. I do think that Democrats are probably better favored to win that one. I do think Democrats will probably win both, but I think that would be my prediction for that. That brings us to 220. There are a couple other seats here available. So we have one here in Ohio. These are new maps for Ohio. So they have they haven't had an election yet. They'll be interesting to watch, but in general, I largely predict that Democrats will be able to win the House in 2026. We'll have to see what ends up happening, but feel free to agree or disagree with my prediction in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks. Bye.